Demetria is definitely a shining light. Let me just kind of give you a background on how I met her. So, y'all know I'm new to running, 3 years in the game. And when I first started running in 2020, I was just kind of finding everywhere I could fit in. And so Black Girls Run, of course, was one of those groups. And somehow I found a calendar. People were running close to my city, and I met up, and her and Nancy were the two soul sisters out on the pavement. And I remember when I first started running, it was a interval thing for me, and Demetria too. At the time, I think you were doing intervals at the time, and so we were just working it out. I didn't come back to Conyers because I live in Covington, but just watching her over the last 3 years, I've just had a jaw drop, and I'm like, I have to have her on. So welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am glad to be here. I am honored that you would choose me to interview. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. People want to know, who are you? Please tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you found running.
So my name is Demetria McElheney. I am a native of Covington, Georgia. I currently live in Covington. I am blessed to have one daughter. She's 31. Yeah, I have a 31-year-old. So I have one 31-year-old, and I am single. It's interesting because I've been divorced for like 7 years. So I'm like, where do you cut that off? Where do you be from divorced to single? So I'm just going to say I'm single. And so I work for a company. I've been with my company. I'm in client management. I manage accounts, and I work for a company. I've been there 32 years,
Wow.
all my life. And my passion is running, working out, and I love reading. So those are my passions. I'm very active in my congregation, my church. My church is part of the Full Gospel organization, Full Gospel Baptist Church organization. I'm very active there. I serve in many capacities there, and so my life consists of, I tell everybody, working out, and going to church.
Yes.
With a little fun sprinkled in here and there. So yeah, that's who I am, and that's me. And
How'd you find running, or did running find you?
I found running by back in 2006. 2006. My mother transitioned, and she transitioned from complications of diabetes. And so my family has a history of diabetes and hypertension. And so when I was younger, I was on blood pressure medicine myself, and I don't like medicine. The only thing I take now, thankfully, are just vitamins. And so I didn't want to be on medicine the rest of my life. And I also knew that some of the medicines my mother was taking, how it was impacting her kidneys and her other organs. And so I didn't want to do that. And then my mother, her diabetes were to the point where she had to take shots. And I don't like needles. I'm afraid of needles. I was like, let me see what I can do to prevent this. So I started walking. And then I was like, well, you know what? Let me see if I can jog. And I would jog here and there. And, and it was a struggle. I mean, it really and truly was when I first started out. And so then I would just try to run as long as I could until I couldn't run anymore. And I started out solo, just by myself. I was like, let me try this. And at the time, I decided my director, still my director today, he was like, well, why don't you try cycle at LA Fitness? And I was like, I don't know if I can do that, but okay, I'll try it. So I tried that. And so that got me into the classes at LA Fitness. And then being in LA Fitness and being in the locker room and talking to people, I met Nancy and other ladies that were doing, they were part of Black Girls Run. Honestly, I had never heard of the organization. But once they told me about it, of course, you do your research. I went online and read about it. So I still have the calendar today that I access it, based on where I am. And they, told me about how at the time they were meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay.
And so I went out there, and I was intimidated. I'm not gonna lie. I really was, because these women out here, I'm like, of course, some of them were older than me, and they were out there, they were just running. And I remember just walking
Yep.
And I would get maybe a mile, and with the group, they go so far out and then they turn around. And so I would get like halfway, well, not even halfway out. I would get less than halfway, and then women would be already be running back, and I'm like, oh my god,
I'm
how
still
did
walking.
how
Yeah.
did they get there? So
Yeah.
anyway, and I kept at it. I was like, I just I like a challenge, and so I'm up for the challenge. And then at the same time, I started seeing how it was impacting my body in a
Mm.
positive way. And so then I just kept at it, and I would, the more if you want to run fast, I tell people start running fast. If you want to,
Mm.
run longer distances, start running longer. And that worked for me. And so I did the intervals. I do maybe a 2 minute 2 minute run, 30-second walk. Sometimes I do a minute run, minute walk. I would do that. And then one day I was like, and I started doing races. And so I like getting the bling, the medals and things. And
Mhm.
so when I run, I would see maybe a stop sign, or I see something. I'm like, I'm going to run to that point.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I,
yeah.
every time going further and further and further. And so ultimately I have gotten to the point where last year I did a couple of marathon. I mean, I'm sorry, half marathons, and I ran the entire way.
Yes. Okay. I love it. First,
Completely shocked me, hills and everything in Georgia, but I did so.
I love this story because there's so many people who are looking to change their family's history, right?
Mhm.
Or
Right, right.
change their future. They see the signs. Okay, my mom has
Exactly.
this disease, my uncle's had it, and they're in a position where they're like, I don't really know how to get out of this. I love
Right.
food, and it's
Mhm.
it's really a difficult task. I'm not a foodie, but my husband has diabetes, and I see
Okay.
the struggle of him. Oh, I really love this type of food. This brings
Mhm.
comfort,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, you want me to change my eating habits and exercise? Now you asking me for
Oh.
too much.
Mhm, mhm.
And so I applaud you because you were like, no, I am not going to be just another statistic of my family, and I'm going to make some changes. So I really do
Mhm.
applaud you. My husband is not on insulin shots,
Great.
so we are
Mhm.
and part of the reason why I started running,
Mhm.
I don't know what percentage, but in my subconscious it was, I wanna be an example.
Right, right.
You know
That's
what I'm
yep.
saying?
Mhm.
Because I'm not a great cook. He's a cook. He's always been a cook
I'm
since
not
we've
either.
been
I'm not
married.
good either.
Okay, okay, okay. Because I'm like, "Okay, God, I don't ooh, I'm trying to do these meals. They don't wanna eat my food because 'cause I'm just starting. My kids are 20 now. They're like, "You don't cook."
Right, right,
So,
right.
my husband, I'm like, "How do I help him?" And when I started during COVID, I just
Mhm.
wanted him to see that, "Hey, this is possible." Because I didn't
Right.
start running like, I didn't have a history of athletics, and I was in sports growing up, I was in
Mhm.
drama, and I just said, "You know what? I had depression, and I was trying to come out of it due to COVID,
Mhm.
losing my income, and I was like, "Okay, God, I know if I get outside and I get some sun and I just be with you and I can just actively move my body, then I
Right.
believe that something's gonna happen to my mindset because I'm in a
Mhm,
funk."
mhm.
And
Mm.
for me, it allowed me to put things in perspective, what was important.
Right, right.
And then also when I started moving my body, my mind started to comply and my body was like, "Oh, we kind of like this thing."
Mm. Okay,
So
okay.
I love everything about your story. Now tell the people if you feel comfortable from a weight, like where did you start with your weight till where are you
Sure.
now?
Sure. So when I started, and honestly, I didn't even realize that I was the weight I was, because I didn't focus on that. I was married, I
Mhm.
was taking care of my household, I was taking care of my daughter, I was living.
Yeah.
And then so once I had my daughter, like I said, my daughter's 31 years old. So I had her back in 92. When I had her, yeah, I remember going to the doctor. I was like 180 pounds. I was like,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
but at the time, weight wasn't I didn't think about it. It wasn't a factor for
Right.
me. So then, after my mother passed, my mother transitioned. I remember going to the doctor, and I looked at my chart, and I was 300 pounds. And I was like, whoa,
How
that's
did this
not
happen?
good. Right.
Yeah.
How, when, where,
Yeah.
how did I get there? Right. And of course, I know how I got there. When you're, you have children and whatever they don't eat, you kind of nibble off, you eat
Yeah.
your plate, nibble off what they have. And then just living life,
Yeah.
not being conscious of the lifestyle I was living. Right. I wasn't concerned with my food. Honestly, didn't see myself as being overweight. I
Yeah.
didn't. And
Yeah.
so, but I realized that food obviously played the role in me getting food and other uh, activities or lack thereof that I was doing was is what caused it. So
Mhm.
so anyway, I am my lowest weight that I've gotten down to is like 160. Right now I'm about 165 because the football season's in, and I'll be honest, I love I'm like, and just I was like, it's fourth quarter. I actually just started rolling back on things and saying I need to focus again. I need to get back because people don't realize, but 5 pounds matters to me
Mhm.
anyway. And so
Mhm.
anyway, so I didn't see myself as big. And what's interesting is even after I had lost weight, and I was in clothes in my adult life, I had never sizes I had never been in.
Mm.
Um, I actually pay more attention to my weight now than I did when I was 300 pounds.
Mm.
And it took me a while because to even realize that I had lost that amount of weight and I was in the size I am. Because when I went to stores, I would still go to the plus section. I would still go to the plus section. I would still get, and my daughter's like, Mama, that's too big for you. I'm like, but this is the
Mm.
size I wear. And so it took me, this is years. It took me
Yeah.
years to get to that point to realize that, what, I can wear, smaller sizes. I don't have to go to the plus section.
Mm.
But I promise you, and even April, the thing of it is, and I hope no one takes offense to this, but I had like the fat walk. I had the overweight walk. What I mean by
Yeah.
that, I wobbled.
Yeah.
Even after I lost weight, I was wobbling, and I didn't even realize it.
Mm.
I was just
Yeah.
self-consciously doing it. And so anyway,
Yeah.
one of my coworkers, she said, "Girl, why are you walking?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You wobble." And then I looked at myself and I did because it was so ingrained in me, in my
Wow.
mind, in my spirit that I was a certain size. And I can,
Wow.
even after I lost weight, I still saw myself that way. So it took me some time for my mind and my brain to catch up with my body. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so that's what happened. And that's where I am now. So like I said, I'm about 165. And I actually have a goal. Actually, initially my goal was I had a pair of pants. I had
Mhm.
a pair of white pants. I still have them in my closet today. And I just want to get into these pants. And I got into those pants
Uh-huh.
and they were too big for me. But I still have them. And I will always keep them because it's a reminder of where I was trying to go. And so then I said, well, I want to get back to, so when before I had my daughter, I remember going to the doctor and I was like 150 pounds, but just a couple, I was in high school and I don't know if that's
Mhm.
considered big or not. I don't know. So in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Just one
Yeah.
day, I want to just hit that 150 again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. But you
Yeah.
know what? If I don't, I'm still fine with where I am, and I'm
Yeah.
happy. I really am happy with where I am and in my body size now. But
Mhm.
like I said, I like a challenge, so why not?
Yeah. I love it. So your schedule looks like right now for the people who say, "I need that, I want that." What do you do?
So what I do now, and all you tell me I'm excessive, and I tell everybody, my family, my friends, I tell them, well, if this is a habit, this is a good habit to have.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so normally Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I do weight training.
Okay.
And I work on specific parts of my body, whether it be my
An
shoulders, my
hour, 30
biceps.
minutes?
You know what? I get to the gym. I try to get to the gym between 5 and 5:30, and it's
Okay.
just based on me working out as long as I feel like I want to work out. I normally try to do 2 or 3 exercises per muscle or
Okay.
per area that I'm working on. There are some days I will go heavy on. I want to start lifting heavier weights, and so
Mhm.
I just recently started putting more focus on my bench press on my chest. So I will do that, but it's a combination of exercises. So I'll do that
Mhm.
about an hour, but that's
Okay.
on Mondays and Fridays. And then Wednesdays, I have, so I'm in there I'm lifting probably about an hour, 15, 20 minutes. And the reason I do that, because I do take breaks. And
Uh-huh.
what I mean by that, so I'll lift and, I'll do a set and then I'll take me a 2 or 3 minute break before I, do my next, I'm sorry, not set rep, before I do my next
Mhm.
rep. And so I do that. And then, so that's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Those are weight days. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday are my cardio days. I'm
Uh-huh.
normally going to run those days.
Mhm.
I'm going to run anywhere from 3 to 5 miles on those
Mhm.
days. And then even on those Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays where I do weight training, I have a Peloton. So I love
Mhm.
riding the bike. So I may come home, if I have a break, I'll jump on my Peloton and
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'm currently in a challenge, 30 runs in 30 days.
Okay.
Walk run in 30 days. So
Okay.
it's the entire month of October. I need to run at least 2 miles a day or ride my bike for 4 miles a day. And so
Mm.
I'm always in challenges as well. So I'm in
Okay.
that challenge. And then for Peloton, for Peloton, every time every day you do your Peloton, you get a blue dot. And
Uh-huh.
so I want that blue dot. It's something about me getting that blue dot in the month that I'm like, so people say I'm obsessed with it, but I
Uh-huh.
honestly enjoy it. And the thing
Yeah.
about it, I when I work out to gospel music, and people are like, what?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a lot of people have to have all this hardcore,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I run to gospel music. I work out to gospel music. Every now and then I may go to like some old school
Yeah.
R&B. But when I tell you 99% of the time I'm listening to gospel, because there are times I run by myself. And of course, when I work out, majority of the time I'm working out by myself. And that's also a time I'm listening, and I'm also talking to God as
Yeah.
I'm working out. And
Yeah.
I know it doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me.
Yeah.
And it just helps me get through it. So
I know my run habit has definitely brought clarity of how I hear God. Like, I know
mm,
I've always heard him. I've always been
right, right.
connected, but when I am out, especially when I'm out in nature and not necessarily on the tread,
Mhm,
man,
mhm.
it's so
It is
clear.
very clear. Yes, yes,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
had been dealing with this word rest for
Mm.
3 years. It's been 3 years, and
Okay.
the first year that God had told me, "April, you need to rest," it was somebody she spoke over my life, and I
Mhm.
hadn't even really started running yet.
Okay, okay.
I was just maybe in it for a few months, and I was excited, and this lady, I didn't really know her, but I knew her enough to say she's not a fake. So
Mhm.
I
Right,
was at a
right.
conference. It wasn't a spiritual conference or religious conference. It was just a conference, and she said, "Do you mind if I pray for your feet?" And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay, uh-huh, sure." I'm really thrown off because I've never heard
Yeah,
anybody say they're gonna pray for
I
my
haven't
feet.
either. Right.
And she started praying, and she says, "And the Lord tells me that you need to rest." And I was like, "Okay." So I left there thinking, "What does that mean?" Because I done
Mhm.
just started this habit. I'm excited about
Right,
it. The
right, right,
opposite
right.
of running is rest. So you telling me to don't run? I was
Mhm.
confused. But over the last 3 years, God has given me revelation about exactly what that means, and I have gotten a lot of it, probably 80% of it, while being outside on these runs.
Right.
And
Wow.
everybody would say, "Oh, the Lord is meaning this by this is what he means." And I'm
Mhm.
like, "No, that ain't what he means." And so I finally realized that it meant that I needed to trust and rest in his
Mhm.
ability, his sovereignty. I didn't
Mm.
know at the time I was building a business. I didn't like he hadn't called me to that, but he was telling me, "Hey, I need you to understand that things are going to get hairy, COVID's going to
Wow.
happen, but I need you to trust and rest." And then I started studying the Sabbath and what that means and how we
Mhm, mhm.
ignore it and how we go our minds, our mental health goes to hay because we
Right.
don't have rest.
We don't have rest. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
But I
was
can tell
just
you
like,
that's a word for me today, because I know I don't get enough of it. I know I don't. And
yeah,
so that's something that I've said, once again, I'm in the fourth quarter. I'm in the fourth quarter of the year. I'm like, I need to work on some things, and that's definitely one of them. And so my goal is to rest more.
mhm,
And and it's for me, it's starting out by me getting to bed earlier, because
mhm,
I'll sit in my office, which I'm upstairs now in my office, and I'll work on my work, my 8 to 5, and
mhm,
then I'll start working on church stuff. And then I'll
Yeah.
start working on some other, personal stuff. And I'm like, and I just get stuck in this upstairs because I've already done my workout, right? Because my workout starts, I'm, by 9 o'clock, I've done probably more than most
Right,
people have done
right,
all day.
right.
So then I'm just home and I work from home, thankfully. And so, and then my daughter's adult. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I just get stuck in this section, in this seat here, working on me and don't take the necessary rest.
And
So
I
thank
realized that the rest isn't physical. There's so many different parts of
right,
rest
right.
that
That's
we
true.
have mental health rest, we
Hmm.
have spiritual rest. Like
Yes.
my girlfriend said something the other day. She was like, their souls have to be tired. And I said, oh, yes.
Wow.
Certain things we were talking about. I said, they're always searching, they're always going. And
Mhm,
she's like, your
mhm.
soul has to be tired after always searching after
Always
and
searching.
striving.
Right, right,
Yeah. And
right.
I'm like, so he's been teaching me these last 3 years how to rest physically, how
Mhm,
to rest mentally. I had
right.
this summer, I had an anxiety attack, and
Mm,
I'm not one that's prone to anxiety, but
mhm,
it hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought I was dying. And
oh,
I know what a panic attack is,
mhm.
but this was 3 months.
Okay.
This took 3 months to resolve. And I know the Lord had mentioned rest for a reason, because he saw that the way that I was working and my
Mhm,
habits were
mhm,
leading
mhm.
up to, you're getting out of control with everything, and it's all gonna fall apart because you've got something I asked you to do. I've called you to do this, but now also the enemy knows that I've called you to do this. So
Right.
he's going to try to interfere. And the
Yep.
easiest way is in your mind, because
Mhm, mhm.
you don't meditate like you're supposed to. You don't affirm yourself like you're supposed to. Right. And
Right,
so
right.
at the end of the school year in May, work as a sign language interpreter. I used to be an educator, and I'm sitting in my seat and I feel myself getting dizzy, nauseous. And I had the same symptoms last year, but it was COVID. And I was
Mm,
like, "Oh, this must be COVID. Oh, let me go home." So I went home, took a test, and it wasn't COVID.
okay.
And I was like, "This is weird," because it's
Mm,
mimicking exactly like COVID. But what I realized it was, I was in a cycle of, I feel very, very sick. This must be that. Oh, it's not that. Okay, it's got to be something else.
something else. Yeah,
And
yeah.
a year prior, the enemy was trying to say that you were going to die. He was like, "You're going to die. You're going to die." I had this
Mm,
orbit. And so when I went through this summer, it was a cycle of, well, I know I'm not going to die because the Lord has told me that I needed to do this. But why do I
mhm.
feel like that? My body, from my fingertips to my eyesight to my legs not functioning. When I tell you,
Wow.
my, I'm like, don't tell me anxiety don't cause you to go nuts. My body was doing everything, to the point of, I
Oh,
went to the
geez.
neurologist, and the
Mhm,
neurologist said we need to do an MRI to rule out stroke, to rule out MS, to rule out all
mhm.
these things. Comes back, everything is clear, thank God.
Thank God.
But
Yep.
for 3 months, my body was responding to the non-rest from me feeling panicked and overwhelmed because of life.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
um, the one healing thing was, running was the healing thing for me.
Mhm.
And the enemy was like, "Oh no, you're not. I'm gonna make your legs feel so weak, like noodles. You're not
That's
gonna be able to run."
oh, wow.
So, but now that I've identified it, because at first I thought, this is weird. And then you think about the whole space of being a Christian, and Christians don't get depressed, and Christians don't really have anxiety. And you go, okay, let me take all these layers off of this lie.
Exactly. Right, right. That is it.
'Cause
Yes.
that's a lie from the pit
That's
of
a
hell.
yes,
Like,
that's a lot.
no, we do. We
Yes.
do.
Mhm.
And so I finally accepted, and I said, "Okay, Lord, now just give me wisdom and clarity of
Mm.
how I need to pay attention to my body."
Right,
So
right.
when things start getting, I got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, mama, husband, children, work, and then you forget about, yourself. So running for me has definitely been a place of solace and connection to God.
That's
And so
awesome.
yeah, I love that. I wanted to ask you about this recent race that you did here in Covington because I was like, she won. She shot the So
Yeah.
there's a race here in Covington, Georgia called the
Mhm.
Fuzz Run. And I'm new to the city. So
Okay.
this is I think I've done it once or twice. I think I did it twice.
Okay.
And I saw you post this past year that you
Mhm.
came in first place in your age bracket.
Yes, yes, yes. And I so for that run, I've done the fuzz run for a couple years. And so I did it prior to pandemic, and then of course pandemic took a couple years off, and then I did it last year. So when I did it last year, I was 49. And I placed third in my age group. And I was shocked. I was like, because once again, I'm just out there running, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then this year, I had a goal. My goal was to finish injury free.
Okay.
That was my goal. And
Okay.
so the prior Saturday, Nancy and Ben and I, we said, let's run we got the course offline and we ran it,
Uh-huh.
right? So I knew the way. Because
Right.
honestly, April, when I do races, a lot of times I don't even pay attention to the map. I'm just like,
Okay.
for me, it's better for me not to know because I don't want to know if there's hills. I'm
Honey,
like, let me
I
just go
need
out
to
there.
know.
Well, see, for me, I'm like, I prefer not to know because it'll kind of psych me out. I was like, well, I don't, so
Uh-huh.
for me, it's just better not to know. So
Yeah.
I know I won't be the first person to finish. I know I'm not gonna be the last person. So I'm like, I'll just follow the crowd. But this time we did the course, and I was like, well, so I knew, and originally I'm a native of Covington, right? So I'm very familiar with the area, and
Right.
so it took one time for me to run it because it was a simple course.
Mhm.
So I knew exactly where I was going, and I knew, where the hills and the little inclines were.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I put my gospel music in, and I just took off running, not with the intention of placing in
Smoking.
anything. I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just running. Now I did say I wanted to do under 30 minutes. That was something I
Okay.
definitely wanted to do because we had done that before. I can
Yeah,
run miles in under 30 minutes, and I was like,
yeah.
so I'm always trying to improve in my splits. So anyway, so when I got to the finish line and crossed the finish line, they have this little thing that you can scan the QR code to give you your results. So I scanned the QR code, and instantly, I guess because they have everybody come
Yeah.
in, they said first in your age group. I was like, what? Me? What? Oh my God. So so that was exciting. And so they gave out medals for the race because it was their 40-year anniversary. And then you got an extra medal for placing.
Oh,
So I got two
wow.
medals in that race. And I was
Okay,
like,
so tell what was your time? Like, what were you what is your finish?
I think it was like 20, a little over 28 or a little over 29.
Wow.
Honestly, don't remember exactly what it was. Right off the top of my head, I'm sure I posted it. So, but it was either 28. I think it was like 28 minutes and 6 seconds. I think it was.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And I
so
honestly, in April, I'm sorry not to cut you off, but I know in my mind because I wasn't running to get to place. I know I
mhm,
can do better. I mean, just when I was running, I was like, because I just I
comfortable.
for me the good thing I just had to hit a like a certain pace, and I just stick
Yeah,
with it. I'm in my own world, I have my music
yeah.
in, and I'm just running. But I was like, you know what, I could have did a lot better than that. But anyway, I'll
Okay,
take
I love that because people who are new and who um are running like me, I have
Mhm.
been very obsessed with pace, like to the point
Mm,
of it's unhealthy. I've gotten better, but I know
okay,
there's so many runners that still are like that. It's such a sticky situation in the run world because you have people say, "Oh, your race, your pace, yeah, yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah." But
Mhm.
everybody talks about pace. Everybody
Pace and
talks
splits,
about
yep,
yeah,
mhm,
splits. And
yep,
so it's like for new people, we're like, how do we find the place to be satisfied with where we are? Because we're gonna grow if we keep running, but
right,
still
right,
push ourselves to become faster. So I remember I started off 17. I was walking a lot.
mhm,
And again, was never an athlete. So it was like, ooh, 17, girl, and then when I got to 14, I was like, yes, like I
right,
am
right,
really excited. And so I'm still at a 13 on a really good race day,
mhm,
maybe 11 and a half. I think the last race I did in Virginia last week, I was like, oh, wow, 11 and a half.
mhm,
And I want to get to an 8. or 9. That
Mhm.
and I'm
Right.
sure once I move the bar, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I wanna get to a 7," right?
Right.
So, how do you go from where you were, with maybe a 13,
Mhm.
split, and you're like, now I'm here at a 8.5. How do
Right.
you what do you weight train to make sure that happens? Do you run more? Like, how do you get there?
So for me personally, I got there because number one, I lost weight, right? Because the more weight you carry on your body, the harder it is for you, and for you to
Yep.
run. So I lost some weight, so that helped. And then I strength train my legs 3 days a week. Um, and so I'm building my legs to make them stronger. I'm building my leg muscles, excuse me, to make myself stronger in that area. So then I've also found out that jumping rope helps. I found out that doing the stairmaster a couple times a week that helps. So I have just added things that have
Mhm.
worked for me. Now, and I'll say work for me because one thing I have found is that everything that works for something that works for somebody else may not
Yeah,
necessarily work for me.
yeah,
And
but
so
I'm writing it down on my list.
yeah, a lot of
Stair
people is like, well,
climber.
I'm gonna do what you do. And I'm like, you know what, you can. And I'm not, and
Right.
you may get my results are even better. And I
Yeah,
pray to God that you do. But what I have learned over the years is that when I try to mimic exactly what somebody else do, it'll work for me, but it may not be exactly what I need. So I've
yeah,
got to figure out my body, what works for me. And I went through a lot of trial and error. Believe me, I've gone through a
yeah,
lot of trial and error over my years of running and working out. And I think for me personally, I'm at a good spot. There are times I say I want to improve my pace, but
mhm,
then I have to step back and say, I'm 50 years old,
mhm.
50-year
You're
woman.
doing
And,
amazing.
and you know what? I'm good where I am. And
Yeah,
then to be honest with you, because when I first started out, I didn't like take care of my body properly because I'm like, I can just run, right? Well, now my
yeah,
knees they
yeah,
suffer somewhat.
yeah,
So I have to be very conscious of that. So where, last year I ran several half marathons. This year I'm only doing 5Ks. I think, and I have two 10Ks. I got one on Sunday and I did one for the Peachtree. But that's pretty much it. But for
mhm,
me, I was consistently running. And I have to
yeah,
realize that for my body and my needs, I need to back up. And so I've done
mhm,
that. But back to the question that you asked as far as me increasing my speed, and I would definitely say that stairmaster, um, the stairmaster, doing my legs 3 times a week, and when I say legs, I take 2 days to actually focus on my quads. I'm building my
okay,
quads, and I take one day where
mm,
I focus on my glutes. So because a lot of people say they just do leg day, and in their days I'll combine the two,
yeah,
but I actually will have on Mondays and Fridays, I'm gonna work on my quads to build those.
mm,
And on Wednesday, I specifically will work on my glutes to build it because I also know that glutes are important when it comes to
yeah,
running. I have learned that just through some things I've read, and so I
mhm,
work really hard. So I work on my glutes. I do Peloton bar 3 times a week. So and outside of me doing strength training at the gym, I also do a bar class every
mm,
3 times a week. It's a 10-minute bar class, but it
that's
works. It
hard,
focuses on it focuses
cool,
BARRE. It focuses
yeah,
on my glutes and there's a little ab work in there as well, but it mainly focuses on my glutes and my legs. So I add that to it.
mm,
Riding my bike has helped as well, riding my stationary bike. So,
yeah,
there's quite a bit of few things that I do,
yeah,
once again, that works for me. And so
yeah.
those are what I've done to help strengthen my, no, the muscles in my legs.
I love that. I did a training session before Chicago Marathon, and my trainer, he had me on the stairs, and I was like, "What? Why am I on these stairs?" But
Right.
to warm it up, like he was like, "We're gonna do some other weights, but let's warm it up." And I was like, "I've
Mhm.
never." But now that you say that, I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
let
the
me add
Stairmaster,
that
it
to
did,
my
and
list."
because you're stepping up, right? So it helps you when you're running going up the hills, because in Georgia, 'cause you're not from Georgia, right?
I'm not from Georgia, but I've been
Right,
here for
Georgia's
about 13
very
years.
hilly. The
Yeah.
races I've done in Georgia, I mean, it's very hilly. And so the Stairmaster and jumping rope personally helps me. And I found, and I didn't know at the time, I didn't know that, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
start the Stairmaster because somebody
Yeah.
else was doing it, so let me do it.
Right.
But then I realized, I was like, you know what? When I do the Stairmaster and when I jump rope, it actually helps me. One
Mm.
year, about 2 years, maybe a year ago, it was cold. The year ago, or 2 years ago, it was really cold during um, fall and the winter. And I don't do cold weather. That's why I'm in
Okay.
Georgia. I love Georgia. I don't like cold weather. So I wasn't doing a lot of outside running, but I was doing a
Uh-huh.
lot of jump ropes. And so I had races at the beginning of the year. And I was like, well, I was really concerned because I wasn't, to
Uh-huh.
me, I wasn't training
Outside.
for the, because to
Right.
me, training is me being outside running.
Right.
But I was doing the jump rope and I was doing the stairmaster. And when I
Mm.
started back, I would go out and run every now
Yeah.
and then, but not
Yeah.
consistent. But then when I ran in January, I had no problem. So to me,
Wow.
for me, the only thing I can say that I did differently is that I was, I stuck with the jump rope and the stairmaster.
Mhm. Well, I have a thing against jump rope for some reason as an adult.
Okay.
I don't know if the coordination is what it is, because one of my other friends, she was training, and she was
Hmm.
like, "We're gonna do this jump." I was like, "Girl, I have a problem. My feet don't do what it's supposed to do." But she
Well,
again
you
was
know
like,
what?
"You gotta do more of it."
I was,
Yeah,
I was about to
yeah,
say, because when I first started as a child, I had no problem, right? As a child, we can do all kinds of things, right? But as
yeah,
an adult, my body just would not get with the jump rope.
yeah,
But as
yeah.
I did more of it, like then I can definitely see a difference in it. So the more you do it, the better you get at it. So
Okay, I got
yeah.
2 last things.
Okay.
The last question for you before the rapid fire is, if you could tell a newbie runner who wants to run longer, who wants to get in the run community, what is some of the most, valuable information you could tell somebody who's just starting out?
I would say consistent. Be consistent. If you want to do it, be consistent and stay at it. And know that don't. And I did say this earlier. Don't compare yourself to anyone else because we all are different. Our bodies are different, and if you're getting into it, like I was probably my late 30s, early 40s, me getting into run. So I didn't, like, to your point, I didn't run in school. I didn't. And so I had to know that what my body did when I was younger, it's not going to do the same thing at
Right.
this age now. So, but I would say definitely be consistent. And like I said, if you want to run faster, run faster. If you want to run longer, run longer. But that's something that you're going to have to work out within yourself, right? If you ran a minute, then next time you run, do a minute and 10 minutes. I'm sorry, minute and 10
Mhm,
seconds. If you
mhm.
run for 2 minutes, then the next time do 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? So gradually work at it and know that it's not going to happen overnight.
That's the biggest lesson I think I had to accept going
Right.
into it and having a personality like, "Okay, whatever I do it well." And then you get into a space of fitness and you go, "Oh,
Right.
no, it's gonna take time.
It's
You can't
definitely going to take
microwave
time. Yeah.
this."
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
good.
if you're consistent at it, and what we don't realize is that we're always improving. If we're being consistent, we're always improving. We may not see it, right?
Mhm.
A lot of us want it drastic. We
Yeah,
want it quick. We want it right
yeah.
now. But over time, I can tell you, this is from my experience. Over time, you're going to see a change because those ladies that I was somewhat intimidated by when I first went out to run for BGR, I'm actually faster than them.
Ah!
Yeah, and so, that wasn't my goal, right? I wasn't trying to
Right,
be faster. I
right.
just really wanted to be able to be where they were, right? I wanted to be able
Yeah,
to. I want to hang with them. I want when they run, I want to run.
yeah,
I want them to run, and then but me being consistent at it and going out and doing it on my own. Walk even fast paced walking. People don't realize what a difference
yes.
that makes because there are several days that I'm like, yeah, I want to run. So I'll walk fast. So I have gotten my walk pace. I can walk sometimes 13 to 14 minutes
Oh,
a
I
mile.
love it.
And just in the walking because I'm intentional about it. You got to be
Mm,
intentional about what you want and you've got to do what you've got to do to get there. Don't do anything crazy by all means
yeah,
because it ain't important. But if that's something you want, then stick with it
mm.
and you'll eventually get there. You will.
That's amazing because you didn't go out to set the goal to be faster than
I
them,
did.
but what I think happened is the compounded interest of you working out as many times as you work out. I'm sure there are some ladies who were like, "I'm working out maybe 3 times a week. This is what I do. Maybe I just run 3 times a week," but they don't
Right.
do the Monday, Wednesday,
The strength
Friday, leg
training. Yep.
day. They don't do the Stairmaster, and so everything that you have done, now you're like, "My body performs better,
Right.
and I'm
As a
able to
result
be
of it.
older." Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And the eating part of it, right? I don't want to say it was just, the workout, but that definitely played a major role in it. But also I fuel my body for a run.
Yeah.
Before, I was just putting junk in, what I would consider junk,
Yeah.
sweets and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Now I fuel my body for a run. I'm eating plenty
You
of
know
vegetables,
what
meat,
will make your
protein.
body.
Yep, yep. I know what works for my body. Yeah, and it's interesting because I have ran with people and they're surprised because I'm not skinny by no means. I'm not small by no means. I'm thick. I tell everybody, so I have thighs. I have a
Mhm.
butt, but I have worked, with weights and eating to fuel my body so that it can perform the way that where I want it to, the way I want it to perform. And so just because, I've seen people that, that are their size, their sizes, they're larger than I am, or they're smaller than I am, and either
Mhm.
they can run past me, or they don't run as fast as me. And so,
Yeah.
don't judge people or don't judge yourself
Oh,
based on those things. Just get out there and do it, and eventually your body will, adhere to it. So
I love it. Okay. 5K or half marathon? Which one?
honestly, I would
Mhm.
prefer a half marathon, but my knees will say a 5K.
Okay. Oatmeal or bagel for breakfast?
Neither.
Okay. Nikes or Sauconys or Sauconys?
Neither.
Okay, what's your shoe choice? What's your
Brooks.
preferred? Brooks,
Brooks.
okay.
Yeah, Nike. I,
Lunges?
I, I will walk in Nike Sauconys. I tried those, and
Yeah.
they bother my feet.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Lunges or squats?
Oh, lunges, lunges.
Okay,
Yes, yes,
okay,
yes. I like the way the lunges makes my glutes feel.
okay. Banana or chips after a race?
Banana, definitely banana, definitely banana. I
Okay,
need that potassium.
and, and what's your most memorable or wildest experience running? Crazy or just, "Oh, I never forget this moment."
Back in 2020, before the world knew of the pandemic. Well, most of us knew the pandemic because people knew before we knew. But anyway, I started in 2019. I did the Atlanta Track Club. They have the ultimate where you do the Peachtree Road Race, which is a 10K. You do the 10 miler, PNC 10 miler in October. You do the
Uh-huh,
half marathon on Thanksgiving Day, and then
yeah,
you do the Publix full marathon. And well, at the time it was in March, but I think they moved it back to February.
mhm,
So back in 2019, I did the ultimate. And so I finished with the marathon in 2020. I did the Publix marathon and crossing that finish line. My daughter and most of my family, they do not attend my races. I mean, because most of them
okay,
are doing, short races.
yeah,
I just,
yeah,
do it like at home. But I had my sister, my aunt, my uncle, friends, and my daughter was standing at the finish line. And I recall crossing that finish line and literally falling into my daughter's arms and just boohoo crying because of the accomplishment that I honestly, it's something I thought in my mind I would never do. I'm
yeah,
just gonna be completely honest. Even as much as I love running, I was like, I'm never gonna do a marathon. My
yeah,
body, I was concerned that my body would be able to, sustain
yeah,
itself through those 26 miles. Although, people do it all the time, but for me, I didn't see that. That was
yeah.
one of my greatest accomplishments. My greatest accomplishment held me after one of my greatest accomplishments because my greatest accomplishment
Oh,
was water, but she was there to witness me for another great accomplishment that I did, and I was just, I love it. So that was it. I would say
top,
that.
top. Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you for taking the
welcome.
time out today. I am truly blessed by your story, and I can't wait to get out there on the pavement with you.